Hello, my subscribers. I am back after a 2-year YouTube hiatus. I'm terrible. I have a lot of stuff going on at the moment, from work to personal life to school to romantic life, everything from Corona, the pandemic. I can make a million and two excuses, but I'm here, I'm back, and I have a lot to say. So I'm just going to jump right into it. And today's topic that I would like to discuss is going to be on the level up movement and what exactly is a high value man and a high value woman. Um, what does that mean? According to what I've been hearing in these YouTube streets, is a high value man is somebody that makes a crap load of money, right? Who's wealthy, who has a lot of financial stability, he earns a high salary, etc., etc., etc. He can basically go out and afford the baddest, the most beautiful, the youngest, the most fertile woman out there. And he has a lot of options. That is what's, at least what I consider, well, not what I consider, but what these YouTube streets consider to be a high value man. A high value woman is more so a woman who's youthful, who's fertile, who's beautiful, who has a high stock in a dating game, who doesn't have any kids, um, is basically a 10. And she can attract somebody who has a lot of money, such as a high value man. Um, and there are just a couple of things that I have issues with when it comes to that definition, as far as like what is a high value man and high value woman. Um, there's no balance. And the power dynamic is kind of screwed up. It puts an immense amount of pressure on the average man, and it puts a lot of pressure on the average woman. Um, Let me explain. So, not only is there like and kind of like a crazy power dynamic going on, but it's kind of unrealistic in my opinion. So, if high value is only based upon somebody's financial status and someone's beauty, then wouldn't that make that dynamic solely dependent on those two things? And those two things realistically can change in an instant. Like, people lose their jobs, people's businesses go under, the stock market could crash, people can lose all their assets. And once that happens, is that man no longer considered high value simply because ish happens? With women, we already have enough pressure on us as it is to maintain a certain level of youthfulness and beauty, from the media to all these makeup and skincare companies to just social pressure, society, everywhere. But the reality is, women, we get older, we age, people get sick, people, um, get into accidents and acquire injuries and things like that. Same thing can happen to men. So just having those type of dynamics be the sole crutch of what will make an ideal relationship or partnership is not only surface level and shallow, but to me it's unrealistic, and it creates a power struggle or power dynamic that's not very stable and long lasting. And to me, it's just a recipe for disaster. So, my definition of a high value person is somebody that is on a continuous journey to be their best selves on all levels, whether that be financially, but also mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. That doesn't mean that the person is perfect. It means that the person is on this continuous journey to become the best person for them and for their own particular life journey that they're on. And if they happen to meet a person that they're compatible with along the way, then that to me is great. That is what I consider to be high value. A high value person is somebody who knows themselves, who knows what they want out of life, who is balanced, and who can um, adequately express what they want in a partner reasonably. And someone who's always going to be on this continuous journey towards self improvement. So you can have somebody that makes a lot of money talking about men, but he can be an a-hole. He can be abusive. He can lack communication skills, lack leadership skills. He can be a narcissist. He can be a gambler. He could be a drug addict. He can be somebody that has like a bunch of kids. He can be somebody that doesn't treat people very well. Lack financial sense. You can have a lot of money and still lack financial sense. Just somebody who's, suffering from mental illnesses. No shade against mental illness, but you know what I mean. Like the list can go on and on. Same thing with a woman. Her stock and value, according to our society, is solely dependent on her beauty and her youth. So what if you have a beautiful and youthful woman, but she's kind of stank on the inside? She doesn't have anything else going for herself. She has no goals, no ambitions. She hasn't done the internal work. And beauty and youthfulness, that's all great and sexy and all, but is that going to take the relationship far? It may be good for her to, have that. And obviously that's going to attract, men because, assuming this is a heterosexual dynamic. But what next? Like what's after that? There's just a total lack of depthness. And maybe there are some people in this world that are okay with that. They're okay with having temporary partners, and once they're done with them, they move on. And if both parties agree to that type of dynamic, then that's perfectly fine. Who am I to judge? But from my observations, people are looking for strong, solid, true, authentic relationships. And that is not a good way to acquire that, because the criteria for both men and women, based upon these conversations that I'm hearing on YouTube and social media in general about what is high value and, the level up movement, it's very shallow. And when you create a shallow foundation, you create shallow partnerships and relationships and bonds that don't last and that are, tenuous and flimsy and whimsical. You get the whole point. Next point I want to make is about feminism. Where do I want to start with this? In my opinion, feminism is not a bad thing. Let me explain. For women, feminism has created a lot of doors and opportunities for us to walk through and acquire that our mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers before us never had the opportunity to do 50 to 100 years ago. We couldn't vote. We couldn't own our own land. We couldn't own, other property. We had to basically go through our husbands in order to acquire our own bank account. We couldn't work outside the home. We could barely get our own, education past a certain, grade or degree level. Our place was mainly in the home and child rearing. And if a woman chooses to be a stay-at-home wife and mother and caretaker, then that is her choice, and that is perfectly fine. But with feminism, what that gives women is the choice to take on that aforementioned role or to choose a different path in life. It's all about choices. Now, with the Black community, I feel like feminism is a dirty word because it's always associated with hate towards men. And I don't think our people really know the true history on why feminism was created and why we needed feminism. And it's not because of hatred towards men, it's for women to acquire more opportunities and more self-reliance, per se. Self-reliance is not the word that I wanted to use, but we'll just go with that for right now. With feminism in this country, at least, women were um, allowed to have opportunities that advanced women and that gave women more rights and more avenues to pursue, other than, just being restricted to home life and child rearing. So, with that said, how can we want feminism? And in my definition, feminism is just basically women acquiring more opportunities in life and the ability to choose what avenues she wants to partake in life. How can we want that and low key want to go back to an era where we are strictly dependent on other individuals for our future? Let me explain again. In these YouTube streets, I'm constantly hearing that men are supposed to be the main providers. They're supposed to provide everything, the housing, your lifestyle. They're supposed to pay all your bills. And that's great. If you're in a partnership where that is agreed upon between you and your partner, that's perfectly fine. That's awesome. But that's between you and your partner. To say that all men are obligated to take care of women in this fashion, I don't think, again, that is the way to go in the 21st century. And I think that is the case because I feel like we're willingly giving up our, I don't want to say give up our power, but I feel like we're low key kind of subjugating ourselves into a position that will make us more vulnerable, financially, especially. Why would you want somebody to take control of your future, or why would you want to be super dependent on someone for your lifestyle, whether you're married or not married? Why do you want somebody to pay all of your bills and it wasn't agreed upon between you and a partner? You're not in a relationship. You're an adult. Why can't you pay your own bills? I mean, maybe I'm the only one who's thinking this way right now, but I feel like that's a lot of pressure to put on someone. Especially if you're just dating, especially if this was never discussed, especially if it's not agreed upon between you and the other individual. Why would you want a grown person to just kind of swoop in and take care of you and you're another grown person? Last time I checked, an adult was supposed to work, make your own money, or create your own business, whatever, make your own way in life, provide for yourself, do what you got to do to survive. I mean, that's what adults do, right? You pay your own bills, you pay your own car note, you pay your own rent, you provide yourself with shelter and, food or whatnot, water, insurance. That's if you're a single person or a single man or lady. And to expect someone of a different sex to kind of swoop in and take over all of those responsibilities that you're supposed to be handling yourself, I think that's a little bit of a savior complex. And I think that is questionable teaching. Because not only does it put a lot of pressure on the other individual, but it also, it's like a frustration, because, like, why are they obligated to do that? And this is only talking about heterosexual dynamics and traditional gender roles. And I guess I'm just confused because traditional gender roles kind of arose within a society where women were given a very limited amount of rights, and they weren't allowed to work outside at home. They weren't allowed to mostly do anything other than to, get married by the age of 22, have like 5, 6 kids, and cook and clean all day. I mean, that's perfectly fine. If that's what you and your partner agree to, you both are fine with that. But given that that was the only option for women back in those days, why would you want to resort back to that period where we weren't really given the option besides that? I don't know. But in my opinion, I think right now in the 21st century, we should be focused on egalitarian relationships. Some women will call it 50-50, but if you're trying to say that women deserve equal pay, women deserve to have equal rights as men, women deserve blah, 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 then okay, benefit from it. Um, don't give away your power. Like, share that power with your mate. Share that power with, the men of society, and take your place rightfully as a future leader, future whatever in your field, CEO, whatever, and share everyday life responsibilities that comes with being in a relationship with a different person, with another person. To me, egalitarian relationships make more sense. They're more modern. They don't involve an equal power dynamic between two different sexes, because again, we're only talking about heterosexual relationships here, and this world contains more types of relationships than just heterosexual. And I think you know where I'm kind of getting at here. But I didn't really think this out very well. I just have a few notes here, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you think egalitarian relationships are pretty much the way to go, that it'll equal out the power dynamic between both men and women in relationships, and it will just kind of stop this gender war that we're having on social media? Do you think egalitarian relationships are more realistic or not realistic? Or are you more so of a traditional type of individual where you believe that women are supposed to be doing this and men are supposed to be doing this? And are you for specific gender roles? Do you think feminism is a dirty word, or do you think that feminism in a lot of cases have been misunderstood and misinterpreted, especially in the Black community? High value people, what does that mean to you? And that's basically all I have to say for this video. I didn't want to make it too long. I know I've been gone for way too long. But I'm not going to try to make a bunch of excuses. I'm definitely going to try to be a little bit more consistent. And to my subscribers, thank you for hanging out. You guys rock. And I will be back with another video next week. Talk to you guys later. Peace.